1969 was a very big time because the RLHC Bedfords that we've been waiting on since 1965 were finally, Sutherland fought with the Bushfire Council for 5 years as to what they should look like, and I think Sutherland finally won. People like Reg Swars, George Smith was very involved in the process, Alan Hammett. They fought to get what we needed, and when they did arrive, they were state of the art. They were the first purpose-built fire tankers that this state had seen, and I think it started a long tradition of Sutherland leading the way with a lot of things. Through Ray Watchhorn, who was also, I think he was fairly close to being the first fire control officer, paid fire control officer in the state as well. And I worked with Ray up until about 1975, I think, when he retired. The next, I think 1971 was the next time we actually had a fire, and it was quite an amusing day. It was a total fire ban, and Engadine had been sent to Royal National Park to patrol the picnic areas because there were people lighting their barbecues, and it was a matter of trying to convince these people that no, you really shouldn't be lighting barbecues in a total fire ban. So the first time we spoke to them very politely, and then I think John Longhurst was captain at the time, and he had a great idea. We were going to drive away and then sneak back and try and catch them, and I thought, that's great. There's about 7 of us and 300 picnickers. But anyway, we did sneak back, and what do you know, they'd actually relit their fires, so we weren't as pleasant the second time. They were told to take their food off the fire before we put it out with a live hose reel. And some of them claimed they couldn't speak English, and this was... but I pointed out to a couple of them, I said, what about a $2,000 fine and 6 months in jail? Oh yes, we understand that. I said, good, I'm glad you understand that, because that's what the story is. Anyway, we managed to prevent Royal National Park burning down from that end, and we were heading home to Engadine along the bypass. We'd just come off Farnell Avenue, and Col Bloomfield, I think he was the only one looking backwards, looked back and saw smoke near Loftus Station. And we had to do the usual 12-point turn on the highway to try and get around and get back down there. And I remember we went along the railway line at Loftus, and John Longhurst ran in, and he came back out and he said, I think we've got a red call. And I thought, you think you've got a red call? That was, no, yeah, we have got a red call. And the fire actually went belting through. It jumped the old highway, which used to be what was called the Mad Mile. It jumped the bypass, and I don't know how, the history doesn't show that was built then, but I'm sure it was there, and it jumped right into the spot where the 1983 fire started in Savills Creek, and off it went towards Grays Point in its usual path. So again, that was a night that was a bit of a blur. It was my first decent sort of fire. I wasn't even an officer at that stage, but I do know that we ended up at Grays Point at some stage, and there was no personnel carrier. So I had a little bloke in the brigade, Davy Jones, and he was a real character. He happened to have his, I don't know how he got his car there, he had a station wagon. So when you try and put 20 people in a station wagon, most of it in the back, it's fairly hard to drive because there's no weight on the engine. We had to get 2 volunteers to actually sit on the front of the bonnet to keep the wheels down so that he could drive, but we certainly got home. It was quite an interesting night because Engadine 8-1, the tie rods broke on the front of it, and it was they couldn't drive it. So I think Engadine 6-1 wasn't available because it was about to be turned into Engadine 6-2. It was having the tanks on the back replaced and a new deck. So the biggest brigade ended up with no tanker the next day, and we ended up having to borrow one. But yeah, again, no losses.